Hello, my name is Daniela. Sorry for missing the first talk, don't blame me. I ran as fast as I could. I'm going to talk a bit about accessibility, and I have quite a real use case for that. So I think the interesting part of this talk is behind that. But I also have some tips of stuff that I think that is important when we talk about this topic. So before that, a little bit about me. I code here at YLD, actually in Portugal. As you'll notice from my slides, I have some background images from some experiences in Portugal. You will notice some Portuguese, but you don't have really to bother about it. And I mainly do Node.js and React. I am the organizer of ReactJS. It's the JavaScript meetup in Lisbon, so if you ever go there, please ping me if you want to speak. It's also fine. And I like photography, and I used to play a bit of guitar, despite the fact I'm not that good. I learned from YouTube and stuff online. But yeah, there's also some other interests that I have, and one of them is this institution, which is called, I would say in English, Yellow Heart. It's this yellow heart here. And basically this institution aims to help elderly people. And the idea is to be with someone through your week. So I spend 1 hour a week with a person. With my husband also, and we go and stay, like we can go to a coffee, or we can go with them to the supermarket to buy something, or just chat and be around, do a nice trip together. But yeah, that's something that most of the people don't know about me. Actually, João is a 70-year-old guy. He used to do hardware components, and he lost his vision about 15 years ago. So, as you may notice from someone that does hardware components, it's quite difficult for him right now. However, he's kind of a hacker, so I found this really interesting. It's the type of guy that he can't see, but at the same time, I can go through all the Windows registry stuff and try to find a bug and stuff going on and try to fix it really deeply. So it's kind of amazing to having this experience with João for the previous 6 months, I would say. And João is incredibly fast. So he has an iPhone as a device, and he says that it's better in terms of accessibility. But unfortunately, he can't afford to have a MacBook, but so he uses Windows on his laptop with the screen reader JAWS. Maybe some of you heard about it. There's also NVDA, or for Mac you have VoiceOver that you can also try. We are going to try in a bit, hopefully. And despite the fact everyone are really happy about the new version of Firefox, João is quite unhappy because the new version of Firefox is bringing quite some slowness to people with disabilities. It used to be a really good, cool browser for them, but it's a bit slower, this new version. So he sees quite some drawbacks. He says that we probably don't see that often, or we don't think about it. So yeah, sometimes technology doesn't help that much. So João asked me and my husband for help, to help me with some use cases. So I have quite some use cases that I would like to talk about today. One of them is João was trying to apply to have a blue badge or disability badge, because despite the fact he can't drive. He loved to drive before, but he always knows on which street he is. It's amazing. But sometimes he goes with us to some place, or he goes with his family to some place, and they need to park the car nearby, so we can walk less time and be closer. He basically needs this badge, and we were trying to help him. and we went to a quick search that he already did before, obviously, because he was trying to do it. And we saw, oh, amazing, we have IMT services. It's like a Portuguese regulator for transportation. Forget about the rest here in Portuguese, just concentrate on the gift. Basically, we saw this and we were quite happy. Oh, there's this online functionality, let's use it. That's cool. But then I looked at the website and it feels like, what the hell is this? My first reaction was, who uses this thing? But João perspectives, it was just, I want it to work, I want to have the blue badge, so what should I do? And this made me think a bit about how do you and we in general see progressive enhancement. So what is important to be on the page first, like is the real content or the beautiful UX that we have in our websites. And one of the things that didn't work that well after that impressive website is that most of the times it was failing. And there's nothing than the error that you can see here, like an error has occurred. There's no other message behind this. It's just that messages that absolutely says nothing to João. It tries to go through the screen reader and it just says, oh, there is an error, and try to figure out what was the error. So this doesn't help João, and despite the fact he is an hacker, he might have tried to go to developer tools, but if you try to use a screen reader to read developer tools, okay, forget it, don't do it. So basically, 50% of the times that you try to log into this website, you get the error page, which was quite impressive. But the other half, you can go actually and apply for the blue badge. And we look at the badge, forget about, again, the Portuguese names, they don't matter here. It just matters that you have a long form you have to fill, and how João is going to see it. So for us, we see that there are some fields here, some personal fields about the person that is going to register. And let's see if these work. Basically, it has this form, and I'm going to show you more or less how VoiceOver reads this form in macOS. It's a bit different on JAWS or NVDA for Windows, but let's try.
Chrome, IMT online, edit text, blank, table 3 columns, 30 rows. You are currently on a text field inside of a cell. To enter text in this field, type Portugal, menu item, edit text, blank. You are edit text, blank, edit text, edit text, edit text, blank, edit text, blank, edit text, blank, edit text, blank, edit text, blank.
Okay, enough of this. So the idea is that this is for someone with a disability and that person can't use the form. So we really need to think about it. And how can we solve this kind of problems? Obviously, some of you probably know that we can use area components, and we were going to slightly talk about it. But there's also some other stuff here that is not that interesting. That, for instance, this is your personal number. That is the number that is on your card, and you have like your personal number, and then you have a check digit on your card. I guess you also have it here, right? No, maybe not. Kind of. Okay, it doesn't matter. But nobody knows this number. Nobody has it in memory. So, well, for me, I could ask, hey, João, can you please give me your card? I will see it. But João is blind. He can't see it, right? So we really need to think about the concepts that he will actually see. And most people see, and it's not only people that might be blind, but people that has some kind of vision disability, like people that see different color contrasts and so on and so forth. And we thought, oh yeah, we're done. We finally did the form. That's amazing. But after registering, it sends out an email, and the email is something like this. Hello, João, in this case. Welcome to IMT Online. To validate, please insert this amazing string. And, well, it doesn't say actually where João should have it or what should happen next. So actually what happened is that there was a new magic field that was included in the form. Like, what the hell? In this case it was like here. So imagine what will happen with the screen reader. João has to go back to the website and see, oh, there is a form, and then go through all fields, and then eventually he may notice or not that a new field was added. It's like, what the hell? How is this possible? And I was thinking deeply, how can we solve this kind of stuff? Because it was really annoying me also, and I couldn't figure out. Well, I managed to help João, and he right now has the disability badge, but the blue badge. But come on, all the stuff. Some of this stuff is quite simple to do, and we can also help. So one of the things that I have here, it's some of the solutions or the simple solutions. It doesn't depend on area components, or sometimes it doesn't. So this was the one that was being used in the example, and this is my proposed solution, which is really simple, and it's something that you guys probably do, which is having like an ID for the input and the label that has a for that relates to the ID on the inputs, and this way it will be easy for the screen reader to understand what's going on and to use the form itself. So it's not that easy. I'm not doing any magic here, it's just HTML. And in this case it will hear something like this.
Index.html window, name, require edit text, insert name, authorization to be contacted by IMT, check, tick box. You are currently checked. Authorization to be contacted by IMT. Tick box. Checked. Authorization to be contacted by IMT. Authorization. Name. Required. Edit text. Insert name. You are currently on a text field inside of webcam.
So it's not that difficult to like just relate the input and the label, and that probably will work and have the basics. But there's also something really important that we sometimes miss, which is the language that is being used on the website. Because if you have the incorrect language and your computer is in another language, it might be really annoying and odd because it's trying to read in a different language, so the context doesn't make that much sense. So we also need to be a bit careful with that type of stuff. Some other things that we should think about solving in this example is try to have like an alternative to the email confirmation. In this case it could be like a button that it receives on the email, because the screen reader will understand that there is a button and you can just press it. Or we can have like the solution that Google has and send to your mobile phone and you confirm on the mobile phone, or some other solution like calling you and you have to confirm some stuff. That would work much better instead of having like this huge string that João has to notice how to copy and paste somewhere in a magic new field. So the check digit and the other one are just, come on guys, let's do nice programming stuff. But yeah, how about React? My talk doesn't relate that much to React, but there's also some things in React that we need to talk about here and that are really simple. So one of them is that all the area components are supported in React in lowercase, and there's also this ESLint plugin that you can add to your JSX, and basically it will tell you if something is missing or not. So the plugin is called the ESLint plugin JSX ALI. If you are interested, I also have the link in the end of the presentation. But yeah, regarding the example we just had before, in React you would use like an HTML for and not a real for. And if the field is required, you can use, for instance, area required attribute here. Second example, so João wanted to recover the password on the Vodafone's website. I guess you guys also know what Vodafone is. And we were trying to help him. And basically, if you are like doing it and trying to recover, usually you have this thing, I am not a robot. And fortunately, Google is doing quite some efforts on this, like from your patterns on your laptop, your browser, in this case Chrome, can identify that you are not a robot, because he understands that you are using only the keyboard, and this person seems to be blind because of the patterns that the person does, like just going to the navigation using tab, and so on and so forth. But in case you don't have this, these persons could also use the audio mode. And that's cool, but sometimes it's really difficult to understand what the audio mode says. So I want to challenge you to give it a try on one that is not from Google in some reCAPTCHA form. So every time you try to see this thing, instead of clicking on the images or placing the letters, try to go for the audio one, and you'll see that sometimes it's really difficult for you to understand what is being written, so they can validate their CAPTCHAs. And there's even more dangerous CAPTCHAs like this that don't even have the audio mode, so they are impossible to fulfill by these persons. The third case, it's RTP Play. RTP, it's like a TV channel in Portugal, and they have this website RTP Play where people can listen to content that they displayed on your television at some time. But the thing here is that João wanted to access to audio guides, so and audio content, audio descriptions for some series that he was watching. Because he doesn't have like a smart TV that could use like accessibility mode, it's quite annoying for people that are not using it on a daily basis. If you try it, it's like something like the person X goes through the street and opens the door, so it's like a narrative, it's like telling you what's going on, and it makes completely sense for João, but for me maybe it doesn't make that much sense. But João wanted to access this, so I actually was trying to download this content for him. So he was looking at we were looking at the website, and I noticed that there is like this red circle, not the top one, but the bottom one. And basically this means invisible mode. So when you click here, actually this amount of buttons, this huge amount of buttons appear. But as you can notice, you don't have to understand Portuguese to see that there's quite a lot of strange things going on here, like some broke HTML stuff. And it's not just in Portugal. I just used this example because it was the one that we tried together, that I tried with João. But yeah, there's quite a lot of stuff to fix here, like the weird HTML button, the strange characters that were there, the audio descriptions, we couldn't find them either. So yeah, we still have a long path a long journey to do here on these cases. So, and the fourth example that I have is that, so João was telling me, hey Daniela, there are some websites where I can't move through the pages. I don't know what happened. I just see like a small menu and I don't understand what's going on. And I struggled a bit to try to understand what was happening. So I actually understood that after a while that he was talking about on-hover events. So in this case, it's like events that are dependent on what you're using to communicate, like on-hover events, on mouse hover, on mouse leaves. It just uses the keyboard, so you can't see them. Actually, Wix solves this in a pretty nice way. If you try to go to their website and use the screen reader to read them all, everything is okay. But websites that are changing like the tab index, like sometimes we change it just because it solves, like, let me do an hack, it breaks all the screen readers for people that use them. So it's impossible, it could be kind of impossible to use for them. So we really need to be careful in using this. And fortunately, these on-over menus are starting to disappear, and that's quite cool. But the bad news is that that's not because of people that have some kind of disability, but because we have more and more people using mobile phones, so they are not required. So that's the main reason why they are not being used that much right now, and that's quite sad at the same time. So enough of examples from my experience with Joana, or some of them. I also have some others. I didn't have that much time, so I tried to compress and pick some of them more advanced, some of them not that advanced. One really useful thing is to have this that you can test on the gov.uk website. If you press tab when you go to the page, this button, this menu button appears, and basically for every other user that will not press tab, it will have like a display none or no visibility. In the CSS, for people with screen readers, this is essential to jump to the main content and not going through all the tabs and like see all the navigation. Imagine if you have like 20 items of navigation, João has to go through all the items till you get to the main content. And in this case, if you have just a button to jump there, it's quite useful, and well, for him it's amazing because he doesn't waste that much time. So imagine if you are blind and you are using a screen reader, and your screen reader has to read this string like NINTC. It's quite annoying, come on. It's quite boring. So well, we also need to be really careful when using alternative or title attributes that are going to be read by the screen readers. There's quite some interesting tools right now, mainly some plugins that you can use on the developer tools just to test basic stuff. In this case, I'm showing here No Coffee extension, which it's more or less known, not that people know it, but it's quite interesting. You can test like for low contrasts or not. So it's not only about people that might be blind, but people that have certain kind of disability or vision, in terms of vision. And maybe 1 year or 2 years ago, I was not that used to take a look at this kind of stuff. But maybe because I right now know a person that really has these problems, I'm trying to push myself to learn a lot and to help him. And I see not only people that are completely blind, but also people that may have some kind of disability, and it's quite useful. And also this thing that you have on Chrome right now, that helps you to try to understand the color contrast. There's many other extensions, but it's really useful for people that might have this discrepancy between colors. And well, just try it. Also Lighthouse from Google, you have like an accessibility test that you can run on your website, and that it's quite useful. We are almost finishing, but this is the most interesting case, I would say. So give me just more 2 minutes or something. So this was a test that was done also by gov.uk. I picked this example from them. And the thing is that this is like the extreme. You don't need if you do this, it's like you really want to have the best accessibility you want to do. But it's also interesting for us to think about how these things are read and how these things work. So what they wanted to have here is that they just have like a previous that goes to the previous article, and the next that goes to the next article. And that's quite some basic stuff. But what they were trying to see is that if there is any consistent way that we can do to help people that use a screen reader to understand better what's going on here. So what they actually have done is they added a hidden element here before previous, after previous, and after next. And it's like a punctuation element that is hidden from most of the people, but for the screen reader is essential. So it could be like a column, a period, or some other punctuation character, but it's hidden for most people, like display none or no visibility. But for them, in terms of reading by the screen reader, it would be essential. And they did this study because they wanted to understand which was the punctuation character that was the best to be used in that situation. Should it be like a colon or not? Because, for instance, if you have a dot, it could be read like or bus license dot something, and that might not be the best case. If you don't want the dot to be read, you want to have like a full stop, like the sentence stop, and then you continue, like in this case, next, pause, driver, CPC, and so on. So they were trying to check the consistency amongst all the screen readers. It could be mouse over, it could be JAWS, it could be any other. And they actually decided to go on the colon solution because it made more sense actually. And it was the most consistent across screen readers. But this is like the extreme solutions trying to fix the accessibility bugs. I think if we all try to have at least the basics, it will help most of the people, and it will be actually awesome. I have also some links so you can be up to date. This one is really interesting. Now I can show you because I'm trying to share on this screen. But basically, this accesslab.com is a blog that has quite a lot of interesting topics on accessibility, some blog posts really interesting. And this one is one that they basically asked on Twitter, hey, what do you find the most impressive things that you can't do on the web because websites don't let you? And people with some disabilities answered, and sometimes it's color contrast, sometimes it's not having subtitles, sometimes it's some other thing, and it's quite impressive the answers that they got here in this small study. So please check it out. I really followed the accessibility blog from gov.uk. It's pretty good. This Xcore project, they have a really nice playground. You can play around and see how a screen reader would verify the things, and also you can play around it and see what some rules and the validations that are missing. So if you want to have like the best in your website, use Xcore. The Pali project has quite a lot of interesting stuff, both for designers and developers in terms of accessibility. They give some tools for it. This Lynx browser, it's quite nice. It's like a terminal. You can have your browser on the terminal without any styles. So you will actually look into the content. And you can interact with it. So it's quite nice. And specifically for React, you have the accessibility docs, which are not that huge to read. It's like you can take maybe 10 minutes or 15 minutes to read them all, because it's basically not specific to React, but also has some notes. And the plugin I was talking about for your GSX code. But yeah, the best tip ever would be try VoiceOver or JAWS or any other screen reader and be a bit impressive on the results you get with that, because yeah, at first it may take you a while to set up everything and just try it. It's not that that difficult at the same time. It's just like pressing Command and F5 and it will open the voiceover. But if you can, the best tip I can give is like test it with real people. Despite the fact maybe nobody has the time to actually do it, or it might not be in your requirements, or you might even not be that considering that because of the deadlines your project has. So try to force people to help on that, because it's pretty important for most of people that we probably don't know. But most of people have some kind of disability. It could be like just color contrast, for instance, and we have to figure this out. And I guess that's all, guys. Thank you very much for having me.